A billionaire's wife was never supposed to be seen under a dark freeway bridge, feeding cold strangers with her bare hands. But that night, something unbelievable happened. A child from the homeless crowd ran to her, clinging to her like she was the only hope he had left. And when her billionaire husband arrived in his expensive car and saw it with his own eyes, everyone froze. The air turned heavy. The truth she had hidden for years was about to slip out. He stepped forward, voice shaking, heart pounding. "Lily, why are you here?" Her answer never came. Ethan Pierce lived in a world built on power. As a billionaire CEO known for building tech empires, his days were filled with deals, deadlines, and numbers that made most millionaires look small. His Malibu mansion sat high above the ocean, filled with glass walls, endless rooms, and a silence that felt heavier than wealth should ever feel. To the world, Ethan had everything. But inside his home, something had been slipping through his fingers for a long time. His wife, Lily. Lily was the quiet kind, soft-spoken, warm, the type of woman who could calm storms with a smile. People often wondered how someone so gentle ended up with a man like Ethan. Even Ethan wondered sometimes. She never cared about diamonds, private jets, or the life of luxury that surrounded her. She moved through the mansion like she didn't belong in it, like her heart lived somewhere else entirely. Every evening, Lily told Ethan she had charity meetings or social events. He believed her. He never questioned her, never followed her, never asked why she returned home with tired eyes and a sadness she tried to hide. Ethan noticed, but he pushed it aside, telling himself she was just adjusting to the life they'd built. The truth followed Lily everywhere, though. It lived in the way she looked out the window during dinner. It lived in the way she held her hands together so tightly, as if keeping a memory from slipping out. Her past wasn't something she ever talked about, not even to Ethan. She had grown up fighting battles that no one with her soft voice should have had to face. Far from the mansion's golden gates, in the broken outskirts of the city, a small boy named Noah lived in an abandoned trailer with his sick grandmother. Their home was a rusted metal box surrounded by old tires and cracked ground. When the wind blew, it felt like the walls might tear apart. Noah had learned to survive with little. Tiny portions of food, patches of blankets, and hope that faded each day. For months, someone had been leaving warm meals at their door. No one never knew who, but he prayed they'd keep coming. One night, Ethan's personal assistant mentioned seeing Lily far from her usual charity locations. "Maybe she's planning something big," he joked lightly. But Ethan felt something twist inside him. For the first time, doubt nudged him in a way he couldn't ignore. That evening, when Lily left the house again, she kissed Ethan on the cheek, smiled softly, and said, "I won't be long." But her eyes, they carried a heavy truth he couldn't name. Ethan walked to the balcony and watched her car disappear into the distance. A feeling he hadn't felt in years crept into his chest. Fear. Then his phone buzzed. A message from an anonymous number. "You deserve to know where she really goes." Ethan's heart dropped, and with that, his world of certainty began to crack. Ethan stared at the anonymous message for a long moment, the words echoing through his mind like a warning. He had never doubted Lily, not once. She was the one gentle thing in his hard, polished life. But something inside him pushed forward. A quiet voice whispering that truth doesn't hide without reason. That night, when Lily left again, Ethan made a choice he never imagined he'd make. He followed her. He kept his distance as her small gray sedan moved through the wealthy neighborhoods, past bright restaurants and expensive shops, and then farther and farther, until the road grew rough and the streetlights grew scarce. His luxury car felt out of place among the cracked sidewalks and quiet shadows. But Lily kept driving with a sense of purpose, as if she'd traveled this path many times before. When she finally turned into an old industrial area, Ethan slowed, watching her park behind a cluster of abandoned warehouses. His pulse picked up. The place looked forgotten by the world. Why would Lily come here? She stepped out, carrying a large tote bag pressed against her side, her movements quick and practiced. Ethan stayed back, confusion tightening his chest. He followed her on foot, hiding behind rusted fences and broken brick walls, until he heard voices ahead, soft voices, sad voices. The moment he stepped close enough to see, his world cracked open.
There was a small homeless camp tucked beneath a torn billboard structure. A few men, a couple women, all wrapped in worn blankets and layers of old clothes. And right in the middle of them, Lily, kneeling, smiling gently, handing out warm meals from the bag he now realized she had packed at home. It stunned him. His wife, the billionaire's wife, feeding homeless strangers in the cold like it was the most natural thing in the world. But the real shock came seconds later. A small, skinny boy ran to Lily with wide-open, desperate eyes. He threw his arms around her waist and buried his face against her like she was the only safe place left on earth. Lily held him close, stroking his hair with the tenderness Ethan hadn't seen from her in years. "Did you eat today?" Lily asked softly. He shook his head. Ethan's breath caught. His heart hammered painfully. The scene didn't just surprise him, it tore something open inside him. He had spent his entire life protecting his money, his company, his pride. But here, Lily was protecting something far more human. He took one step forward, then froze when the boy whispered something that sliced through the night. "I'm glad you came back, Mom." Lily stiffened, but she didn't correct the child. Instead, she hugged him tighter, as if the title meant more than she could explain. Ethan's mind raced. Mom? Was it something he didn't know? Something she had hidden all these years? Before he could step out or demand answers, a sudden alert chimed on Lily's phone. Her face drained of color. No, this can't be happening. Ethan stepped closer. What is it? Lily's voice trembled. It's the hospital. Noah's grandmother. She didn't make it. Ethan's heart froze. And Noah? Lily swallowed hard, fear shaking through her. They can't find him.
Lily ran through the hospital corridors, with Ethan close behind her, her breath sharp and unsteady. Nurses tried to stop her, but she pushed forward until she reached the small room where Noah's grandmother had been taken. The empty bed said everything. Lily covered her mouth, tears spilling before she could speak. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder, unsure if she would reject it or collapse into it. A doctor stepped forward. "I'm sorry, we did everything we could." After she passed, the boy panicked. Before we could calm him, he ran out the emergency exit. Lily's legs nearly gave out. "He's all alone now," she whispered. "He thinks everyone leaves him." Ethan felt something deep inside crack, guilt, sorrow, and a painful clarity. For years, he believed power could control everything. But now, a child was out there in the cold night, afraid, heartbroken, and convinced he had no one left. The doctor added gently, "If he doesn't feel safe, he won't come back." Lily stepped forward, voice trembling yet filled with a fierce love Ethan had never seen. "Then I'll make him feel safe. I'll tell him he's not lost. I'll tell him he still matters." She hurried to the shelter where Noah had first stayed. Ethan followed as she stood before a small group of volunteers, her voice breaking yet strong. "I know he's scared. When I was a girl in the streets, every night felt like the end. Noah reminded me what hope felt like again. Please help me find him before he disappears the way I almost did." Her words were soul-stirring. Even the toughest volunteers wiped at their eyes. Ethan felt the same ache, sharp, deep, unforgettable. A volunteer stepped forward. "We saw a boy running toward the old canals near the river. He looked terrified." Lily didn't hesitate. She rushed back outside. Ethan caught up to her, breath heavy. "Lily, wait, you're not doing this alone." She looked at him with wounded eyes. "Ethan, if we don't find him soon, he could drown, or worse." Thunder rumbled in the distance. Wind picked up, pushing cold air along the dark river streets. They reached the canal's edge just as lightning flashed in the sky. Far down the walkway, a tiny figure clung to the railing, shoulders shaking. "Noah," Lily whispered. He turned at the sound of her voice just as his foot slipped on the wet ground. Lily screamed, and the boy tumbled backward toward the rushing water below. Ethan didn't think. His body moved before his mind caught up. He sprinted along the slippery edge of the canal, reaching out just as Noah's small hand disappeared over the side. With a desperate lunge, he grabbed the boy's wrist, his shoes skidding dangerously on the wet ground. "I won't let go!" Ethan shouted, voice raw. Noah dangled above the churning water, crying and trembling. For the first time in years, Ethan felt fear rip straight through his soul. Not the fear of losing money, power, or reputation, but the fear of failing someone who truly needed him. "Please, don't leave me like she did." Those words struck him harder than any blow. He tightened his grip, pulling with every ounce of strength he had. Lily fell to her knees beside him, reaching for Noah with both hands, tears streaming down her face. "Noah, sweetheart, look at me," she pleaded. "You're not alone. Not anymore." With one final heave, Ethan and Lily pulled the boy up to safety. Noah collapsed into Lily's arms, shaking uncontrollably, his cries cutting through the storm. Ethan knelt beside them, breathing hard, rain mixing with the sweat on his face. He had never felt something so powerful, so life-changing. Wealth had never given him this feeling. Kindness had. Noah clung to both of them, his voice barely a whisper. "Please, don't leave me." Ethan placed a hand over the boy's. "We won't," he said, voice trembling with truth. "I promise." Lily looked at Ethan then, really looked at him, and what she saw brought new tears to her eyes. Not the cold billionaire, not the distant CEO, but a man who finally understood the weight of another person's pain. Sirens echoed in the distance. Someone must have seen the struggle and called for help. But instead of panic, Ethan felt resolve settle into him like steel. He stood, rain dripping from his suit, eyes fierce with a new purpose. "I'm done hiding behind wealth. We're going to protect him, no matter what it takes." Lily held Noah tighter, hope flickering across her face. But just as relief began to settle over them, a line of bright headlights cut through the storm. A black sedan rolled to a stop near the canal. A stern-looking city official stepped out, raincoat flapping in the wind. His voice was cold and uninterrupted by emotion. "Is one of you responsible for the child who fled the hospital tonight?" Lily stiffened. Noah buried his face against her. The official reached into his coat, pulling out paperwork. "I'm here to take the boy into state custody immediately."
Lily rose to her feet instantly, pulling Noah protectively against her. The city official stepped closer, unfazed by the storm or the fear on the child's face. Ethan moved in front of them both, something powerful settling in his stance. Not anger, not ego, but purpose. "You're not taking him," Ethan said firmly. The official lifted a brow. "You don't have the right to stop this. He's now a ward of the state." Ethan took a slow breath. "Maybe I didn't have the right before, but I do now." He pulled a folded document from his coat, something he had prepared while Lily was searching the shelter earlier. The official eyed it cautiously. "What's this?" "A commitment," Ethan said, "to fund, renovate, and personally oversee a new transitional housing center for homeless families. The land is already purchased, the permits are approved, and Noah will have a place there, today." The official's expression shifted. Caught between procedure and the undeniable truth, the state had nowhere better to place Noah tonight. Certainly nowhere safer. "And," Ethan added quietly, "we'll begin the legal process for temporary guardianship, right now." Noah peeked up at Ethan, rain still dripping from his hair. You want me?" he whispered. Ethan knelt in front of him, voice soft but steady. "I don't want you to be alone, Noah. Lily doesn't want that either. We're here, and we're not leaving." The official hesitated one last moment, then finally closed his folder.
Temporary guardianship will be reviewed. But for now, the boy stays with you." Lily let out a cry of relief, hugging Noah so tightly it seemed she feared he might disappear. Ethan wrapped his arms around both of them, holding them close as the rain eased into a quiet drizzle. 3 months later, the grand opening of the Hope Harbor Community Center drew countless visitors, volunteers, families, social workers, and people who had once lived with nothing but the weight of survival on their shoulders. Ethan stood at the entrance, no longer the distant billionaire who measured life in profits. Now he measured it in people, those who had been forgotten, and those who still needed someone to believe in them. Lily ran the community kitchen, smiling as she handed out plates of warm food, her kindness filling the room like a healing light. Noah, healthier and happier than anyone could remember, helped stir soup and wave cheerfully at every newcomer. Ethan watched them from across the room, feeling something new settle in his heart: peace. After the ceremony, Noah tugged at Ethan's sleeve. "Ethan, can I show you something?" He led him to a small wall near the lobby. Hanging there was a framed photo: Ethan, Lily, and Noah standing together on the night construction began. Their clothes were dusty, their smiles small but real. Underneath the picture, Noah had written in careful letters, "Family isn't who you're born to, it's who shows up." Ethan felt his throat tighten. He placed a hand on Noah's shoulder. "You gave us something money could never buy," he said quietly. "You gave us a reason to change." As visitors gathered for the closing speech, Ethan stepped forward, Lily and Noah beside him. He looked at the crowd, then at the little family he never expected. "In this world," Ethan said, "wealth can build walls, but kindness builds homes." The audience grew still, moved by the truth in his words. And as Hope Harbor's doors officially opened, Noah slipped his hand into Ethan's, Lily took the other, and the three of them walked inside together. A new family shaped not by wealth, but by love, courage, and the quiet, powerful act of showing up for one another.